Hello everyone, back tuning into Gazovitz on your Easter Bank Holiday Mondays 2019. So as always at Gazovitz on a Bank Holiday Monday, we're going to do a historic weather video, and this year, this Bank Holiday Monday, we are casting our eyes back, not all that far ago really, back to the winter of 2017-2018. So we're not going very far back at all, but of course this does contain the beast from the east. I can tell you that a lot of people have been requesting this historic video over the past few months. So it's one of the most requested historic videos that I've ever had, actually, even though it's only a very short time ago. So we're going to try and bring back some memories for you for this Easter Bank Holiday Monday. We're going to try and bring back a few memories of the beast from the east. And of course there was snow before the beast from the east as well with this winter. So get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a comfy chair. We'll be here for quite some time. There's a lot to discuss with this historic weather video. But hopefully you'll find it interesting. Hopefully we'll be able to entertain you a little bit on your Easter Bank Holiday Monday. Got to say thank you to a few people. Actually, got to say thank you, of course, to WeatherCentral.de and Trevor Harley for providing us with their historic archive of charts in terms of WeatherCentral.de, and also a lot of the information that you hear within this video comes from Trevor Harley as well. So I'm just kind of like the narrator with these historic weather videos. The thing that makes them work really is juxtaposing the historic charts with the information that we get from Trevor Harley. So a big thank you to Professor Trevor Harley, and a big thank you to WeatherCentral.de. Also got to say thank you to our good friend Richard Trott. We had a bit of a crisis with this video. I struggled to get the information together. Trevor Harley is going through a website upgrade. He's upgrading his website, and it's hard to find a lot of the information at the moment. I'm sure Trevor will get all of that ironed out over the next few weeks and months. But for this video, it was a real struggle getting all of the information together, and our good friend Richard Trott went through it all with me and pointed me in the direction of all of the information, sent a lot of information to me actually from Trevor Harley's website. So I couldn't have done this video without Richard's input. So a big thank you to Richard. Not only for a little gift that you see there as our introduction page, but also for getting all of the information together, or a lot of the information together for me from Trevor Harley's new weather website. Right, so I think that's pretty much everything that I've got to tell you. Just to say that you can't watch this video in one go. It will be a long video. You can't watch it all in one go. Don't worry, the video will be kept at Gazovitz within the historic archive indefinitely, so you'll be able to come back and watch the video on demand. And without anything further to talk about, let's get on with the historic video for the winter of 2017-2018. Now, we're going to begin in the autumn of 2017, and the reason for that is that a lot of the time when you're going into winter, there can be clues of what the winter might hold in the autumn. So I just want to go through the autumn briefly before we get on to the actual winter of 2017-18. There is a very important event also that takes place with this period in October in terms of ex-hurricane Ophelia. So we're going to begin on the 1st of September. This is how the autumn of 2017 kicks off with the weather, and you see we actually have a ridge from the Azores high across the country on the 1st of September 2017. We're in a relatively cool northerly flow. This is quite a cool September. It has a central temperature of 13.5, which is about average, but in modern terms, especially compared to a lot of the late 1990s and early 2000s Septembers, this is a relatively cool September. It is also relatively unsettled as well. Trevor Harley says it's an unsettled and a westerly month. So as we go through the first days, what we see with September 2017 is that, as we go through the first few days, there we go, we're going to quite an unsettled looking pattern, actually, with low pressure heading in off the Atlantic, but we have got high pressure up to our northeast. Interestingly, this is the warmest day of the month. The 4th of September 2017 sees temperatures rising to 24.0 at Harrowdom, and that's pretty low actually for September, especially, as I say, for modern Septembers, when you often see the temperature going up into the sort of mid to high 20s, even sometimes even 30 degrees in quite a few modern Septembers. So 24, it's quite warm, but it's relatively modest actually for modern day September. You see the pattern that's bringing that about, bringing up these very mild southerly to southwesterly type winds. And then we go into this rather sort of unsettled type pattern as we're running through the first week and on into the second week of September. We go into quite an unsettled pattern with low pressure to the north of Scotland, bringing in these pretty cool sort of northwesterly type winds. We move through to the 13th of September, for example, and we've got low pressure exiting away to our east with high pressure building out to the west, and that turns the winds actually into the north. So it goes even cooler actually as we go through into the middle phase of September. We really do pull down some very cool air. Indeed, an early autumn in September 2017. The lowest temperature of this month actually is on the 22nd of September, when it goes down to minus 1.2 at Altnahara, so we're a little bit short of that. But you see, but overall it's a rather blocked sort of month. We've got a fair amount of high pressure out to our north and west. We've got low pressure as a trough sitting over and to the east of the country. So it's relatively cool, relatively unsettled, relatively changeable month in September 2017. Trevor Harley also writes that it's a dull month, especially for England and Wales, averaging only 77% of average, and also Northern Ireland only gets 97 hours of sunshine during September 2017. So it is quite a cool and quite an unsettled month indeed. We're heading up towards the 21st into the 22nd of September. This is when we get that low temperature out and high. You see what's happening here? We've got all of the heights to the east and the northeast with low pressure out to the west. So it's still a relatively changeable pattern, but obviously there must have been some sort of inversion taking place across Scotland to produce those very low temperatures. We are having a go at building up a bit of a ridge of high pressures. We head up towards the final week of September. We do have a real go at setting up a Scandinavian high, but in the end that gets broken down quite quickly as low pressure continues to barrel in from off the Atlantic. Nevertheless, this is a drier and slightly warmer phase, I think, as we go through the final sort of days of September, but then low pressure really winding up out in the Atlantic, bringing quite a lot of wet and windy weather into the north and west. And that's how we finish September 2017, with low pressure out to the north and west, bringing wet, dull, wet weather across many parts of the country, and relatively cool conditions as well. There is a theory that, and one of the things we look for in the winter updates when we're building up to our winter forecast, one of the things we do like to see for a cold winter is a cooler and wetter September, and this is pretty classic of the kind of September pattern that we quite like to see really before we give our winter forecast. If we're going to forecast a colder winter, we do tend to like to see a cooler and wetter type pattern in September. That's a classic example. So we're through to October now. October 2017 has a central temperature of 12.4. So it's a very mild, even quite warm October. It's a westerly, southwesterly month. And ex-Hurricane Ophelia is the big talking point about this month. And I'll talk about that as we get to it. But this is how the first day of October 2017 looks, quite wet and windy with low pressure out to the north and to the west of the country as well. And we keep this unsettled, changeable weather going through the first week of September, that's the 4th, and we're on into the 5th as well. Notice heights again pulling out to the west of us, totally winding to the north. Sometimes in the autumn you can get some clues about what the winter might hold, and we do see a few of these northerly snaps in September, but also into the start of October as well. Now we're moving from the first week towards the second week of October, and we're starting to build up a bit of high pressure into the south, so that's bringing relatively dry and quite mild, even fairly warmish conditions to the south. Still a little bit unsettled up to the north. Moving up into the second week of October, wet and windy conditions again with these west-southwesterly winds heading into northern and western parts of the country. And then we're into the 12th of October. High pressure is building across many central and southern parts of Europe. Low pressure is out to the north and west. We're starting to drag up these much warmer winds from the southwest. This is a really mild and warm push of winds from the southwest that we get here around the 12th, 13th, 14th of October. Now, this is the 14th of October, and that is, at the time, that was Tropical Storm Ophelia, just there, that area of low pressure, just there. It's bringing a lot of warmth into the northern Atlantic. It's allowing this ridge to build across central parts of Europe ahead of it, dragging up these warm southerly winds. And as we go through to the 15th of October, you see that, and it was still a tropical storm at this point, off the coast of Portugal. This was still a tropical storm heading up towards the UK. It's only as it got towards this southwest approaches of Ireland that this begins to turn from a tropical storm into a post-tropical storm. But I think at this point it was still Tropical Storm Ophelia on the 15th of October off the coast of Portugal. Look at the upper air temperatures associated with the remains of ex-tropical storm, as it was still at this point Tropical Storm Ophelia. Look how hot it is across much of Spain, Portugal, up into France as well. That warmth being pumped northwards by the remains of Ophelia in the Atlantic, and high pressure across central parts of Europe. Now, it's on the 16th of October that the remains of Ophelia eventually reaches our shores. So there we go. We're into the 16th of October. Now it's gone down to a post-tropical storm as it hits Ireland and the UK. This brings very severe weather to the Republic of Ireland. Severe winds, severe gale force winds, bringing disruption to the Republic, and also a lot of heavy rain too. For the UK, it was a very, very strange day on the 16th of October. It was very windy in places, as you can see. I don't remember a huge amount of rain from Ophelia. I think western and northern parts of the country got most of the rain from ex-Hurricane Ophelia. But what I do remember very, very vividly is the bizarre sort of orange-red skies. The skies turned a really, really menacing and odd-looking orange and red colour. Haven't really seen that before, to be honest, within the weather in the UK. Kind of like a Martian sky almost. I'm sure you will remember that. And it was caused partly by wildfires across Spain, I think, sucking up those southerly winds ahead of Ophelia, sucked up a lot of ash and dust from Spain with the wildfires. And then I think there was an element in terms of just the strange looking clouds that you can get with tropical storms and hurricanes. You do get you can get very unusual looking cloudscapes. And remember, this was a tropical storm just to the southwest of the Republic of Ireland. So some of that was definitely left over in terms of the odd-looking cloud. So it was partly the nature of the area of low pressure that was the remains of ex-Hurricane Ophelia, and also a lot to do with dust and ash being sucked up from Spain with the wildfires. Let's have a look at the upper air temperatures there on the 16th of October. So you see how far north that warmth has pushed in, all the way up to southern Scandinavia, all the way up to Denmark, Really high upper air temperatures, but then a cold front swings across the country, clears away all of that heat and humidity, clears away all of those bizarre looking skies. So I remember in the morning of the 16th of October 2017, the skies were incredibly red, very menacing looking, very dark looking skies, Martian almost. But then in the afternoon, all of that got pushed away as the wind got up, and that was cleared away, and then the sun shone very brightly through the afternoon of the 16th of October, albeit it turned an awful lot cooler and fresher at the same time. Trevor Hardy writes, overall it was warmer than average month, particularly in the east. It was dry except to the northwest and very dry in the southeast, under 25% of average. It was a dull month. The equal days October on record in Northern Ireland. The highest temperature of the month was 23.5 degrees. So that's 73 Fahrenheit in old money. On the 16th, on this day, it reached 23 degrees in Manston in Kent. The lowest of the month happens right at the very end. We come up to only -5 at Tulloch Bridge on the 30th. So, yeah, really memorable day, about the 16th of October 2017. And then as we go through beyond that, well, the remains of Ophelia move out away to Scandinavia, and we turn the winds into more of a northerly direction then. So it turns much cooler and fresher as we go from the 17th through towards the 18th. And then we're starting to find areas of low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic, bringing more unsettled conditions to the north and west. This does actually look like a very unsettled and changeable month. You'd expect it to be quite a wet month, but as I say, it wasn't really, except in the far northwest where it was more unsettled. Generally, this was a pretty dry month, so a relatively warm and dry October. That's something else that we look for, of course, when we are doing our winter updates. We are interested in the weather patterns that occur through the autumn to forecast a colder winter. Don't think I'm letting any cats out of the bag with this. We've been doing winter updates long enough now for most people to know what we look for to forecast a colder winter in terms of the autumn pattern. So we look for a cooler, wetter September, and then a warmer and a drier October. And the autumn of 2017, or September and October 2017, is a really good example of the kind of things that we're looking for. We're heading into the closing days of October 2017 now. You see high pressure is beginning to reorganise itself. We're still bringing up a lot of warmth from the south though here on the 26th of October. But the high pressure is beginning to head out towards the west of the country. As we go into the closing days, we're going to get this little northerly snap as the high pressure begins to retrogress, or tries to retrogress, up towards Greenland. It's a bit of a failed effort, but you see it is trying to push northwards, which is quite interesting that we see the high pressure trying to do that. So actually most of the cold air with that sort of northerly attempt plunges down into Scandinavia, just gives us a glancing blow. But it is enough to see the temperature going down to -5 at Tulloch Bridge on the 30th, with this brief northerly snap followed by a transient ridge of high pressure building across the country. That's how we look on Halloween 2017. Basically near normal temperatures, quite cool, and we're under a ridge of high pressure. Right, we're moving on to November next then. So November 2017 has a central temperature of 6.8. Trevor Hardy writes, but it has a changeable start with mild westerly winds followed by high pressure with a colder final week. And there is some snow in the final week of the month as well. Overall, the month was slightly cooler than average. The warmest days saw 16.2 degrees at Aboyne, that's in Aberdeenshire, on the 1st, and 16.8 in Chivenna on the 2nd. So this is the warmest day of the month. This, along with the 2nd of November, sees temperatures into the mid-teens Celsius, with this little ridge of high pressure building across the country, still keeping us mainly dry unsettled, but very quickly that's moved out of the way by low pressure coming in from the north and west, and so actually we go into quite a cool and changeable pattern as we go through the first week of November 2017. Just go back, that's how bonfire night 2017 looks. So quite cool, relatively dry, but winds are in from the north, so it's quite a chilly, seasonable feeling bonfire night. Wet and windy there on the 6th and through the 7th, and we're heading into the second week, from the first week into the second week of November 2017, and we're looking pretty changeable really, but you notice all the time the wind looks like, of the jet stream and the mean wind direction looks like it's kind of like northwest to southeaster line. So we are, even at this point, this is the 11th of November, we are having a go at turning the wind into the north and pulling down a cold snap. In fact, we do get wind into the north there on the 12th, only very briefly, only very transiently, but it's interesting that with this autumn, despite the warm October, we do see several attempts to turn those winds into the north. A little bit more information from Trevor Harley. So the lowest temperature this month is going to be at the end of the month at minus 6.9 degrees at Bewcastle in Cumbria. That's going to happen at the end of the month. We'll get to that very shortly. And Trevor Harley also writes that it was pretty dry. Again, another fairly dry month in the north and west, and it was dry in the south and east too, giving an overall England and Wales average of 79% of average rainfall. So it was quite significantly dry on average. Essex was particularly dry, with some places having less than 20 millimetres of rain. It was a mostly sunny month, in contrast to October, of course, with some places seeing more sunshine than October, with 121% of average. That's quite unusual, of course, because you expect it to get duller as you go from October through to November. So we do see quite a lot of high pressure bringing these drier conditions into the south. Overall, the most unsettled conditions are into the north. We're heading in towards the final stages of November 2017. And something interesting starts to happen. We begin to get this build of pressure appearing over Greenland. We've got high pressure. It's a genuine area of high pressure too. When you get these yellow colours into Greenland, that tells you that you've got a genuine area of high pressure of 1,060 millibar reach. So although on this day, 21st of November, we're relatively mild and we're bringing up these southwesterly winds, it's very quickly, with the heights rising over Greenland, going to turn quite a lot colder. And so we go with this complex area of low pressure, bringing a lot of wet weather from the 22nd to 23rd of November. But then the low pressure starts to deepen in the Norwegian Sea, and that begins to turn the wind into the north. And so we go into our first proper cold snap of this season. This is the 24th of November 2017. We've got a ridge in the middle of the Atlantic going up to Greenland. Low pressure is in the North Sea, and we bring down these cold northerly winds. And so we go into quite a cold final week of the month. Low pressure is to our north and east, and we've also got high pressure out to the west. We bring another little low pressure in from off the Atlantic there on the 26th, but that again, it's northwest southeast aligned with the jet stream. So as that plunges into the North Sea on the 27th, the heights rise behind it again, and we turn the winds back into the north once more. So we're going into the closing days of November 2017. We're pulling down those cold northerly winds. So as I say, we're heading into the coldest phase of the month. The lowest temperatures occur on the 30th of November 2017, where we have this cold air established from those northerly winds across the country, with high pressure out to the west, low pressure to the east. And this brings snow showers, the first snows of the winter, generally falling in northern and northeastern parts of the country. I think there are a few snow showers elsewhere too, but this is primarily snow showers in the north and in the east. So the lowest temperature of the month is on this day, 30th of November 2017, going down to minus 6.9, as I say, at Bewcastle in Cumbria. Much of the country failed to exceed 3 degrees Celsius on this day. So pretty cold end to November 2017. I mean, nothing overly dramatic, but overall, this is a relatively interesting autumn to precede a winter. So again, before colder winters, you do tend to get a few hints along the way, especially it seems with cooler, wetter conditions in September. Then often it goes warmer and drier in October before you can go into a cold snap in November. I always like to see a cold snap at some point in November, and we did get that with November 2017. Right, so we're into the actual winter itself. That's all the setup through the autumn of 2017, but this is where the winter of 2017-18 really begins. So we're starting on the first day of December 2017. December 2017 has a central temperature of 4.8. So it's a relatively cool month, really, compared to the very mild Septembers that we had before it. Of course, we had that extraordinarily warm December 2015, and December 2016 was quite mild as well. And of course, last December 2018 was also another very mild month. So this is a rather cooler December. Trevor Hardy writes, it's a mixed month with spells of cold and less cold weather cancelling each other out. There are two named storms this month. We've got Caroline on the 7th that we have to look out for, and then Storm Dylan, on the 30th. So we begin here on the 1st of December, the first day of winter 2017-18, has a high pressure out to west of us, and we bring in these relatively cool northwesterly winds. So as we run through the first week, we stay in this relatively cool but dry type pattern for a few days, and then the high pressure begins to slip down to the south. So we actually turn very mild here. This is the 6th of December 2017. We've got high pressure across much of central southern Europe, low pressure out to the northwest, and we're pulling up these really mild southwesterly winds. The highest temperature this month is actually 15.2 degrees at Castley, which apparently is Sutherland. On the 12th. Let's run through though, because things are going to start getting colder on the 7th of December. We take that low pressure into Scandinavia. Again, we've got this ridge building out to the west of us. It's a semi sort of recurring type pattern, this heights rising to the north and west, low pressure plunging into Scandinavia, turn wind into the north. So this is another cold snap as going to the 7th of December 2017. That's the 8th of December. We've got a cold northerly winds, high pressure out to the west, low pressure to our east. The wind is in from the north. That's bringing snow showers across parts of the country. What's a little snow event there on the 10th of December 2017. There were some pretty heavy snow showers from the 7th through to the 8th of December, I should say. So this is the 9th. We've got cold air established across the country, low pressure over Scandinavia. It's also got low pressure out to the west of us. This low pressure is moving into the UK and trying to dislodge a cold reservoir of air. There's the upper air temperatures there on the 9th of December 2017. So this low pressure coming up against that cold air, and this actually gives us our first really widespread snow event of the season. We go from the 9th through to the 10th. We see that low pressure has really failed in its attempt to dislodge that cold air. So instead of taking its normal track, which would be southwest to northeast, it's actually slipping away to our south. We're pulling down these cold northerly winds on the back side of the low pressure. There's the upper air temperatures you see from the yellow colours down across France, but the proper mild air never really gets established. So we've got cold air, -5 Celsius iceberg lying through Wales and the Midlands too. This gives us our first widespread snow event, particularly across England and Wales, I think. With this, and particularly through parts of Wales, the Midlands, East Anglia, some central southern parts of England. I think here in Northamptonshire, for example, we had like 5, 6, 7 centimetres of snow, so it was a couple of inches, quite a dumping of snow happening early in the winter of 2017-2018, just telling us again that the atmosphere is a little bit different compared to those very mild winters that had preceded it. Trevor Hardy writes that it was quite snowy in central Britain from the 8th through to the 16th, although it does get milder as we go through into the second half of the month. More on that in a moment. So the low pressure pulls away to our east. We turn the wind into the north. There it goes. Northerly winds pushing down across the country again. But that takes us through to the 12th. And at this point, it starts to get milder as low pressure then develops around Greenland and Iceland, starts pulling the winds from more of a westerly direction. As I told you, the highest temperature of this month actually occurs on the 12th. It's 15.2 at Castley and Sutherland. So it's very cold just before that, then very mild by the 12th. So it just gives you a show a very changeable nature of the weather that we had during this December. And that mild air doesn't last so long. Look at this again. We've got this repeating pattern with low pressure moving into the North Sea around the 14th of December, pulling the wind back into the north once again. That's the 15th of December 2017. Again, we've got these northerly winds with low pressure to the east. High pressure is out to the west. Then we go into the second half of the month. We go into a milder phase then. So we're heading up towards Christmas, and we've got high pressure from the Azores ridging into the UK, bringing a lot of dry and mild weather as we're running up towards Christmas. All change again with temperatures lifting up. No sign of any snow running up to Christmas 2017. Very mild on the 23rd there with a long effect southwesterly. And then as we go through to the 24th, this is how Christmas Eve is looking in 2017 with high pressure across France. Low pressure is out to the north and west. And again, we're bringing up these very mild southwesterly winds for Christmas Eve. Low pressure then pushes through the country on Christmas Day, bringing quite a wet start to Christmas Day. And it's also turning cooler as well as this cold front swings across the country. So we then start to pull down some colder air again from the north. So you see this constantly recurring pattern. There are hints of it even in September. Went away until the very end of October, but went away mainly in October. Until the very end of October anyway, and then we get it in the final week of November. This then regularly on and off through December 2017. These repeated northerly shots. This is Boxing Day with low pressure down to the southwest of the country, running into again cold air which is pushing in from the north. And this one also gives us another rather marginal snow event as we go from Boxing Day night into the 27th of December. We get another rather marginal snow event, very windy with this one too, and a wet type snow brings down quite a lot of power lines. Where I am in Northamptonshire, we lost the power overnight, Boxing Day night into the 27th of December. And then that low pressure moves into the North Sea. Again, we're pulling down these cold northerly winds. There wasn't all that much snow, but there was certainly enough recovering of snow, like a centimetre or two, quite widely across central parts of England and Wales, occurring on Boxing Day. On Boxing Day night, heading into the 27th of the month. And then we run up towards the new year, and those northerly winds are quite quickly cut off as the wind again goes back into the west. We're running up towards the 30th when we're going to get Storm Dylan. So it's this area of low pressure just here out to the west that brings a mild, wet and windy day on the 30th of December 2017. Storm Dylan brings us a bit of a battering. That's how we look on New Year's Eve 2017. Quite unsettled, westerly winds, and again ending the year on quite an unsettled and westerly note. Right, so we're up to December and or up to New Year 2017. The main event, of course, is still to come. We've already had quite a few little snow events through December 2017, but the main event is still to come with a beast from the east. So I'm going to pause the video there. I'm going to go and get myself a drink of water. We'll meet back in around 2 seconds' time, and we'll go through the rest of the winter of 2017-2018, including, of course, the beast from the east. So why don't you go and get yourself a cup of tea, and we'll meet back very shortly. Alright, we're back and we're ready to continue our historic weather video here for this Easter Monday of 2019. at Gazworthy. So we're looking at the winter of 2017-2018 for this historic weather video. We've already discussed the autumn of 2017, so we've already discussed the hints that were there leading up to this winter of what could potentially be a rather colder winter. There were a few hints in terms of the weather pattern that we had through the autumn, and we've discussed what was quite a cold and changeable quite a cool, changeable month in December. Did have a few snow events as well, especially through central parts of England around the 8th to the 10th or 11th, and then again just after Christmas from Boxing Day through to the 27th of December 2017. We're now into 2018, so we're going to pick up the story here on New Year's Day 2018, and we begin the year still looking rather changeable. So we've got high pressure to our south around the Azores, low pressure in the Atlantic. We're bringing in this relatively flat westerly flow. Trevor Hardy writes that January 2018 is a cool and sunny month in the north, but it's quite a mild month down in the south. The 2nd through to the 3rd sees a gale. This takes us from the 2nd and into the 3rd of January, this deep area of low pressure moving across the northern part of the country, no doubt bringing pretty wet and windy weather with it. I don't think it was a named storm though, so I don't think this one at the beginning of January 2018 was named. If I'm wrong on that, someone, I'm sure in the comments, will let me know. This month has a central temperature of 5.3, so it's a milder month than December. The December that preceded it. So December in this winter was actually cooler. Well, it wasn't particularly cold, but it was cooler than January, which is something that's quite unusual. It does happen at times, but that is relatively unusual. January often comes out a little bit colder than December. We're running through the first week of January. We've got a bit of a ridge across the country. This brings some quite cold air with it, some fairly harsh overnight frost, but very quickly that low pressure is swept aside as we run up from the 9th into the 10th, and we start to bring more areas of low pressure in off the Atlantic, or at least we try to. The low pressures do start to stall a little bit in the Atlantic Ocean. Trevor Hardy writes that after that 2nd, 3rd of January gale, it then goes into relatively unsettled spell of weather and quite changeable up towards the middle part of the month. It was cold and occasionally snowy this month in the north, with Estelmuir recording 38 centimetres of snow by the 17th. So on the cold side of the jet stream, of course, in the north, with these areas of low pressure, it is a rather colder month up there, but down in the south, it's a rather milder month. So here we are going up to the 13th. Quite interestingly, we're having a go at building up the Scandinavian high here. Certainly a really good attempt at building up high pressure over Scandinavia and getting the wind into the east. It can't quite pull it off though. It's this area of low pressure and the polar vortex around Greenland and Iceland is very, very powerful. So although there is a really good attempt to build the Scandinavian high up there around the 12th, 13th, 14th of January, it just doesn't quite come off. And actually we're going to this cold zonal run of winds on the 15th. This starts to provide the snow that we talked about up in the north with that depth of 38 centimetres, Estelmuir, classic sort of cold zonality with low pressure to the north, high pressure out to the west. The jet stream again a line northwest to southeast. As these low pressures come in from off the Atlantic, they bring pretty cold, they're running into pretty cold air, particularly for northern parts of the country. They can provide quite a bit of snow. I think this is a cracking winter for the Scottish ski resorts, by the way. I think it's a very, very good winter for the Scottish ski resorts. In terms of the highest temperature this month, it's 15.1 degrees at Monk's Wood, which is in Cambridgeshire, on the 28th. And the lowest temperature this month is minus 13.7 at Kinbrace and Outnahara on the 21st. So this particular day just here does provide us with our lowest, our monthly lowest temperature, minus 13.7 degrees at Kinbrace and also at Outnahara. The mildest, of course, the mildest day is still to come. Low pressure generally barreling in from off the Atlantic, giving proper wet and windy weather as we're running through the final week of January 2018. As I say, compared to December, it's actually a rather milder month. It's away from northern parts of the country. Down in the south, it's a very forgettable month, really, with high pressure to the south, bringing up pretty mild winds from the central part of the Atlantic Ocean. As we go into closing days of the month, we find that again we've got these winds in from off the Atlantic, although the last day of January does take that low pressure away to our east and pulls the winds back in from the north once again. Overall, the middle phase of the winter of 2017-18 away from Scotland anyway is relatively forgettable. It's more memorable this winter early in December and then particularly late. Right, so here we go then. We're through to February 2018. After all of the teases, all of the messing about, finally we're going to get there with this winter. It takes a long time to come, but this is it. We go into the month that does contain the beast from the east. So Trevor Harley writes that this February 2018 is a cold month. It has a central temperature of 2.9, so that is pretty cold. It's the coldest February since 2010. Trevor says that the month ends with the arrival of very cold air from Russia on a strong easterly wind, nicknamed the beast from the east. We begin February 2018 with low pressure in the North Sea. High pressure is out to our west. We're pulling down these cold northerly winds. So a bit of a cold snap to start us off in February 2018. But very quickly, we try to back wind into the west. Although you'll notice there on the 3rd, again, we're having a go at building up the high pressure over Scandinavia. One thing I have observed with weather is that often it does take several attempts to get a Scandinavian high going before it actually manages to come off. So it can take the atmosphere several attempts to build up a proper area of high pressure before you genuinely get it going. Again, this is another failed attempt really that we have here at the start of February 2018. So although we did try to build a high over Scandinavia on the 3rd of February, here we are on the 4th, just with a ridge from the Azores high through the UK and into Scandinavia as well. As we go from the 5th through to the 6th, you see that low pressure again is heading in from off the Atlantic. We just can't quite shake off this polar vortex that really is stopping us from blocking in to proper cold conditions during this winter. So we have so many attempts at going into a proper cold spell of weather, but that polar vortex just rooted around Greenland and Iceland, not going anywhere fast until something very important is going to happen as we get through into the 2nd week of February. So we're up to the 10th of February now, and we've got this low pressure. The polar vortex is still there over Greenland and Iceland. We're still bringing in these weather systems from off the Atlantic, bringing wet and windy weather at times. But high up in the atmosphere, in the stratosphere, something very interesting is happening. So this is at meteoseal.fr. I don't often include these stratospheric temperature charts in the historic videos, but I thought I would include it in this particular one because this is quite an important event that takes place. It changes the course of this winter late on. So this is how the temperatures are looking at 10 HPA, which is one of the top levels of the atmosphere in the stratosphere over the North Pole. This is how the temperature looks on the first day of February. See these blue and purple colours here over the North Pole. That tells us that we have got relatively cold air still over the North Pole. Let's run through to around the 8th of February and see how things are looking in terms of the stratospheric temperature then. So again, so you've got these blue colours still there in the stratosphere. That is the cold temperature in the stratosphere. That's the roots of the polar vortex over the North Pole there on the 8th of February. But let's go through to the 10th and you'll see something quite interesting starting to happen. So suddenly on the 10th we start to pull apart those blue curves. We're getting a split in the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere as a sudden stratospheric warming is taking place. Initially, it's a fairly modest warming, really. We haven't got the red colours in over the top of the North Pole, as you can sometimes get with sudden stratospheric warming, but it is enough to split the polar vortex at its roots. As we go through to the 12th of February, you see that this warming actually intensifies. So look at that. This is the temperature at 10 HPA in the stratosphere over the North Pole on the 12th of February 2018. And you see we have totally obliterated the polar vortex at its roots. We've got one lobe of cold air sitting across western parts of America and Canada, and another lobe of cold air sitting across southern and eastern parts of Europe. And in between, we've got these really warm temperatures at 10 HPA, very much a dramatic sudden stratospheric warming that we've got going on here at this point. It intensifies further as we get through to Valentine's Day. Look at that, the red colours start to appear over Greenland and Canada, which is an interesting place to get a sudden stratospheric warming as well. So this is a very classic midwinter sudden stratospheric warming that we have going on here through the first half of February 2018. It just gets more and more intense, quite interestingly. Normally, these sudden stratospheric warmings kind of fizzle out, after around a week, but this one is the 16th of February. It's been going now for nearly a week. It's just getting more intense, particularly focused over Canada. Very dramatic sudden stratospheric warming indeed that is occurring over the Canadian Arctic, beginning to moderate as we get through to the 18th, but obviously the damage at this point has been done. And now we've got to wait for the tropospheric response. But I think, if anything caused the beast from the east, I think it is this. I think it is the sudden stratospheric warming that occurs through the first half of February 2018 and going up to the middle of the month. So that's what's happening in the stratosphere around this point in February 2018. Let's see, though, what the tropospheric response is. So we carry on running through. We're going from the 11th through to the 12th, still keeping those areas of low pressure barreling in from off the Atlantic, bringing pretty wet and windy conditions with them. The highest temperature during this month is 14.2 to Cardiff on the 19th of February. And the lowest temperature is going to be minus 11.7 in the south, at South Farnborough, which is in Hants, and also minus 14.2 at Faversham in Kent. That both occurring on the final day of the month. Wet and windy then through the middle part of February 2018, while those very dramatic events are taking place in the stratosphere. We just continue with these westerly winds barreling in from off the Atlantic. 18th is beginning to show signs of a change already, though. You notice the blue and purple colours have been gradually been weakening over Greenland. The polar vortex has been weakening as I've been talking you through this period around the middle of February. Heights are rising both to the south but also to our east as well. And the initial response with this, of course, is to bring relatively mild air up from the south. But over time, as this high pressure continues to drift further and further north, we find that gradually colder air starts to pull out of the North Pole and begins to head down into the mid-latitude. So although the initial response, let's go back to the 19th, this is the mildest day of the month where we get the temperature going up to 14.2 in Cardiff. It's the mildest day of the month. Although the initial response with these sudden stratospheric warmings is often to build heights from the south and initially can be very mild, as that high pressure gradually starts to inch its way further and further north, so you begin to push cold air out of the Arctic and sometimes out of Siberia too. It's the 21st of February 2018. High pressure is now through the UK and reaching northwards as well. Notice if we go through to the upper air temperatures that we've got cold air, bitterly cold air, gathering across much of northern and northeastern parts of Europe. We're already quite cold in the UK under this high pressure. It's bringing frost and thaw, but the really cold upper air temperatures, the beast from the east, if you like, is lurking up to our east. That's the 22nd of February. This is the 23rd. There's the high pressure increasingly building over Scandinavia. Notice low pressure is deep, but it's stalling to the south of Greenland. That's sending warm air advection into the Arctic. So I'll just highlight that. You get high pressure building here with low pressure stalled to the south of Greenland. You pump up these southerly winds. The southerly winds takes warm air from the middle of the Atlantic into the Arctic, and that is called warm air advection. Let's just get rid of that little message from Firefox. And so this helps to promote the ridge to our northeast. We start to pull in those winds actually from an easterly direction as this high pressure is getting stronger and stronger over Greenland. We're up to 1,045 millibars now on the 24th of February 2018. So we have got a proper Scandinavian high in over Greenland, and look at the upper air temperatures. They tell the story. Look how cold it is away to our east and northeast. Bitterly cold air is sitting to our east and northeast. And so as we get through to the 25th, finally, after all of the teasing and all of the build-up, we get to the final days of February 2018, and we start to pull in these bitterly cold easterly winds. The beast from the east begins to be unleashed. And if you look at the upper air temperatures, look at that. You can almost hear the theme tune from Jaws as that very cold, severely cold air is sitting just off the east coast in the North Sea. And look how cold it is across many northern and eastern parts of Europe, with a minus 15 Celsius isotherm covering much of Europe. Very cold indeed. So things get quite severe then as we go into the closing days of February 2018. We pull in these bitterly cold east and northeast winds. We have the high pressure up to 1,050 millibars over Scandinavia. And look at the upper air temperatures here on the 26th of February. So we've got the minus 10 Celsius isotherm pushing through the country. Minus 15 Celsius isotherm is lurking off the east coast. Snow showers increasingly moving in from the east, and things just get colder and colder as we go through to the final days of the month. This is the 27th. Classic beastly chart with 1,050 millibar of high pressure over Scandinavia, and these really cold, bitterly cold easterly winds. Again, just look at the upper air temperatures with the minus 10 Celsius isotherm covering the whole of the country. Minus 15 Celsius isotherm is heading in from the North Sea on those strong east winds. They're bringing lots of snow showers with them. Bear in mind, this is right at the very end of February, so it is really unusual to get the air as severely cold as this late on in the winter. That is the last day of February. It's a bitterly cold day. Temperatures widely are sub-zero across the country. Trevor Hardy writes that on the 28th of February, the snow depth was 21 centimetres at Copley in Durham. So bitterly cold easterly winds again, taking the temperatures down to minus double digits by night. Remember, the lowest temperature of the month is on the 28th of February, minus 14.2 at Faversham in Kent. By day, the temperature is hovering around minus 2. Across many parts of the country, a few places not getting above minus 3. There's a gale force easterly wind blowing, and we are bringing in lots of heavy snow showers from the east too. Look at those upper air temperatures. That's why it's the beast from the east, because you have the minus 15, minus 15 Celsius isotherm pushing through the country. That is a classic beast from the east. It's right at the very end of February as well, which is really unusual, as I say, to get the air as cold as that. So this is the first day of March 2018, Thursday of spring as well, and Trevor Hardy writes that there is a very cold start to the month as the beast from the east lingers across the country, and particularly so in the north, but actually all places were very, very cold on this day. And Storm Emma hit the cold air and brings snow down to the southwest. So this low pressure here across Biscay, that is Storm Emma, but ahead of it the air is still really, really cold. Look at these upper air temperatures and you'll see that particularly the central and northern parts of the country, the air is still severely cold. Much warmer air is coming up from the south though, across France, Spain and Portugal. That's fueling the low pressure that does become Storm Emma. This is the coldest, it's a job to remember this now, but this is the coldest. Not only is it the coldest March day on record, it's also the coldest spring day on record. We have a maximum somewhere down in the southwest of England, I can't remember where it was, maximum temperature of no more than -5 Celsius during this day on the 1st of March 2018. Many places pegged back at like -2, -3 degrees all day. With this strong east to southeast wind, it was really, really bitterly cold as well. Notice something else that's going on. We've got retrogression. We're taking the Scandinavian high over towards Greenland. That would often lock us in to a prolonged cold spell of weather, but it doesn't quite come off, and that's because of this low pressure around Biscay. That is the remains of Storm Emma. So, a little bit more on Storm Emma. There was deep drifting snow with roads closed and communities cut off on the 1st of March 2018. Again, Trevor Hardy writes, the 1st of March was the coldest spring day on record, also the coldest March day on record, with a maximum of just -4.7 degrees at Tredegar, Blanna Gwent in Wales, beating the 2001 record for the low high in March. So really historic stuff here at the beginning of February 2018. This is the second, and you see, but again, it has turned a bit milder down in the far southwest of the country, but really most places are still cold or very cold, with the -5 Celsius pushing through the country. There's another band of snow pushing northwards, but behind that one, it does begin to turn milder from the south. So we've got pretty deep snow cover across the country now. First of all, from those easy winds, all the snow showers and longer spells of snow for the closing days of the month, and then from Storm Emma down in the far southwest of the country, there are deep snow drifts there. But as we go from the 3rd through to the 4th, we find low pressure then starting to push northwards, and so the cold air begins to retreat away from the north. There's the upper air temperature on the 4th of March, showing that the cold air has retreated back to Scotland. Most places by this point are seeing quite a rapid thaw of lying snow that was delivered by the beast from the east. You see, it is quite a block sort of month though. We're running through the first week of March. It is quite a block month, fair amount of high pressure to the north. We have got a southerly tracking jet stream as well. Otherwise, thought it was very, very unlucky not to sort of have a second week of very cold weather, really. But of course, we had the first week of very cold weather from February through to the beginning of March. But another time, I think we could quite easily, without Storm Emma, we could have quite easily, I think, have had a second week of really quite cold conditions, because everything is sort of set up for it. The jet stream is on a southerly track. We do keep quite an appreciable amount of high pressure to our north as well, but with these low pressures, and it starts with Storm Emma sitting just to our southwest, that stops us from going back into or maintaining cold conditions as long as another time I think we could have done. We're running up towards the middle part of March 2018. A very unsettled month. It's a really wet month. I think it's probably the wettest March since 1981, something like that. It was really quite a wet month indeed, or maybe 2001. But we're going to have another go at bringing in a mini beast from the east. So we're going into the middle of March, and look at this. Heights are again rising over Scandinavia. Low pressure is becoming blocked out to our west. west, and so here we go again. Low pressure is stalling in the Atlantic, high pressure building over Scandinavia, winds are backing into the southeast, and by the time you get through to the 17th of March 2018, there we go, we're back into another little mini beast from the east, and it is a pretty cold one again. The minus 10 Celsius ice firm is pushed through the country once more. It's not as severely cold as the main beast from the east from February into March, but it certainly is cold enough to be bringing more pretty heavy snow showers to eastern parts of the country on those strong easterly winds once again. So snow showers once again flooding through the UK on those strong and cold easterly winds. Despite all of these cold snaps, though, this March only has a central temperature of 4.9, which is cold for March, but it's not as cold, for example, as March 2013. So it swings and roundabouts, really. March 2013 didn't have historic levels of cold as we had in March 2018, but overall, March 2013 was a colder month than March 2018 was. We're moving towards the final stages of the month now. We're starting to change the weather pattern again as high pressure beginning to slip away to our south and southwest. We're beginning to pull the winds in from a much milder direction. Just to say that the highest temperature this month is 16.6 degrees at Colwyn Bay back on the 10th, and the lowest for this March is minus 10.7 at Cawdor Castle, which of course is on the very first day, the historically cold very first day. And interestingly, the deepest snow depth was 57 centimetres at Little Risington in Gloucestershire on the 4th. Of course, that is because of Storm Emma. So we're getting to the final stages of the month now, and we're looking still quite unsettled. As I say, it was a very unsettled March in 2018, and without these areas of low pressure being so vigorous, I think we would probably have had a second cold week if it hadn't been for Storm Emma and the subsequent areas of low pressure that brought an end to the beast from the east rather prematurely. That's how we look on the last day of March 2018. And again, we're having a go, actually, turning wind back into the east to the northeast too. How long have we been talking for? An hour. So that's it for this historic weather video. Just got some pictures to show you very shortly. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the winter of 2017-18. I hope it's brought back some memories for you, and of course I hope you've enjoyed the analysis of what happened with that beast from the east. Thank you so much for tuning in on your Easter Monday as well. I'm just going to show you a few pictures. So this one's from Ophelia. This is that very bizarre orangey Martian sky. This is in London, of course. That's House of Commons, and I think we're looking at the statue of Sir Winston Churchill there. I wonder what Churchill would have made of those very ominous orange skies from the remains of Ophelia. That, of course, is kind of like the blood sky and the blood sun that we have from Ophelia as well. Such an eerie day. Very, very bizarre day indeed. This one is from my good friend Neil. This was sent through to us earlier on before I did the video. This is from the 8th of December 2017. Neil living in the West Midlands, so pretty deep snow cover then. There was more snow, big snow event, of course, in the Midlands on the 10th and through to the 11th of December 2017. This is from Sheerham. Again, this is from December 2017. Deep snow cover in Sheerham's back garden in the West Midlands from that snow event that occurred from the 10th through to the 11th of December. Really wintry looking landscape there from a good friend Sheerham. This is from Mark Knish. This is up in the Wirral. This is showing the first snowfalls from the beast from the east during that bitterly cold final week of February 2018. This one is from Simon Weather on Twitter. This is showing, again, snow from the beach from the east. Very, very snowy night there in Great Yarmouth. Deep snow cover covering the cars and the pavements in Great Yarmouth. They're in the firing line, of course, on the east coast. When you get those beastly easterlies, the east coast is in the firing line, and I remember doing a video saying that I thought the east coast was going to be buried in snow from the beach from the east. It was picked up by the Express newspaper, can you believe? And I was quoted. I was a little bit worried. I was a little bit worried about being quoted about the East Coast being buried in snow. But as it turned out, the East Coast was pretty buried. Again, this one is from Simon Weather in Great Yarmouth. It's showing really deep snow cover there. Again, they really are in the firing line over there in Yarmouth on the East Coast. This is from our good friend Richard Short. This is from 28th of February. So beach from the east in all its glory, really. Deep snow cover there in the hills of, I think Richard is near Redcar, so deep snow cover in the hills of Redcar. Very snowy, snow-covered landscape there from Richard. And very cold, frozen-looking bird on the 28th of February 2018, looking for something to eat, I assume, and not finding much as the ground and the fauna is pretty frozen and snow covered. And then this is from Dan B. This is from the mini beast from the east that occurred in the middle of February, in the middle of March, I should say. 2018. This one from our good friend James Ackrill. This is from James's garden in Lincolnshire. This is on the 28th of February. So again, really deep snow cover there. And again, this one showing deep snow cover across the fields of Lincolnshire. Again, look how snow covered and frozen and bitterly cold the landscape is. Only a beastly easterly can do that. And then finally, again, this is James's backyard, and this is from the mini beast from the east on the 18th of March. So again, you see there was quite a bit of snow with that mini beast from the east in the middle of March 2018. Big thank you to all of you for sharing your pictures for this video, and huge thank you to all of you for tuning in to Gaz Weathers on your Easter bank holiday Monday. I'm always blown away by the fact that people want to spend their time with me on a bank holiday. So, I mean, just huge thank you to all of you for tuning in today. If you haven't been able to watch the video in one sitting, we've gone on over an hour, so it's been a very long video. If you've not been able to watch it all in one go, the video is going to be kept at Gaz Weathers indefinitely on the historic section. Of course, it's also on YouTube forever, hopefully, as well. As long as nothing happens with that horrible piece of legislation, Article 13. But I won't go into that because I don't want to spoil the mood. But hopefully the video will be kept on YouTube indefinitely. It'll be kept at Gaz Weathers as well in the historic section. So you can always come back and watch it whenever you want. If you want to have a recap of what happened and how the Beast of the East occurred, then you can come back whenever you want and do that. Huge thank you to all of you for tuning in on your Easter bank holiday Monday. And enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back with normal, usual weather videos at Gaz Weathers tomorrow. I'm taking the day off today, so there's not going to be any sort of live weather videos coming up. But it will all be back to normal tomorrow. And at 1 hour, 7 minutes, I want to say thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope we managed to bring back some really good memories. And I hope you enjoyed that look at the beast from the east. Alright, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.